Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. Let's talk a little bit about John Bolton's book, and then let's try to take a step back and tackle some of the bigger institutional issues that are going to come to a head, first in November when Donald Trump is voted out, and then in January when he either voluntarily vacates the White House or is escorted out. First of all, John Bolton's book. I think what it's done is it has reinforced what we already knew, but it put some more meat on the bones, so to speak. And I think the conclusion that we can reach is that Donald Trump has destroyed, for the time being, America's ability to have free and fair elections untainted by foreign influence and interference. I mean, we know it started with, hey, Russia, if you're listening, find the missing emails. And we know, of course, Russia hacked the DNC, the Democratic National Committee server, hacked the RNC server, released a bunch of DNC emails and information trying to hurt Hillary Clinton's chances and help Donald Trump get elected. They, of course, have not released any of the Republican emails or information, and there is certainly some speculation that it's being used to compromise, to blackmail certain Republicans, which is really one of the few ways to explain how people can so dramatically sort of have flip-flopped positions, like Lindsey Graham saying Donald Trump will destroy the Republican Party and the country if he's elected, and we will deserve it. And now, of course, Lindsey Graham is Donald Trump's best buddy and his point person on trying to enable all sorts of nonsense to help Trump and hurt Joe Biden. I don't know how to explain that unless somebody has got something over you. So it started Donald Trump's destruction of our ability to have elections untainted by foreign interference. It started with, hey, Russia, if you're listening. It then moved to, hey, President Zelensky, I will be withholding money from you and your country until you do me a favor, though, and announce a bogus investigation on my political opponent, Joe Biden. We now have additional information, courtesy of John Bolton's book, that a whole bunch of folks were trying to get the president to release the aid to Ukraine because people knew it was unlawful to withhold it, and it was certainly unlawful to withhold it and use it as a bargaining chip to extort false information out of Ukraine that you could use to your political advantage. You don't need to be a criminal lawyer to understand that's a crime. We saw in the reporting about Bolton's book that people like Pompeo and Esper, and I think Bolton himself, tried 8 to 10 times to get the president to release the aid. Donald Trump said, nope, not going to do it until I get my favor, though. So we also knew that Donald Trump was trying to convince China to investigate the Bidens because he said as much on the White House lawn, right? He said, I think China should be investigating the Bidens as well. People like Marco Rubio said, he's just joshing, just kidding. That Trump, what a kidder. He's known for his sense of humor. Well, now what do we know from John Bolton's book? We know that when Donald Trump met with President Xi of China, he's begging and pleading President Xi to help him get reelected. He's even offering to formulate U.S. policy, trade policy, in a way that had nothing to do with helping the United States or American workers. It had everything to do with getting Trump reelected with China's assistance. So, folks, he's committed the crime over and over and over again of trying to acquire, seek, obtain foreign interference in U.S. elections. He's done it over and over and over again. But those aren't the only crimes Donald Trump has committed. We've all seen it. No rational person can see everything Donald Trump has done over the past 4 years and come to the conclusion he has committed no crimes. He has done no wrong. He has obstructed Congress. He's obstructed justice. He's tampered with witnesses. He's committed false statements. He has conspired to defraud the United States. He has committed campaign finance violations. And that was even before he became president. He conspired with Michael Cohen to commit campaign finance violations by burying dirt that would hurt his chances of being elected, paying off the Stormy Daniels and the Karen McDougalls of the world. Donald Trump has committed crime after crime after crime after crime, both before he was president to become president and while he's been president. There is no reasonable argument to the contrary. So the question becomes, what do we do with all of this evidence of criminality? We know Bill Barr is the president's protector, enabler, supporter, civil lawyer, criminal defense attorney. So we know Bill Barr will not allow the machinery of government to hold Donald Trump accountable while he's president. That will change in January. And we also know that the Senate refused to hold Donald Trump accountable for his crimes, for the articles of impeachment that were voted out against him by the House and sent over to the Senate for trial. Here is a principle that I think we're going to need to talk about more come November and then certainly come January. And it's pretty basic. You can't help a criminal get away with a crime. Because if you do, you're an accessory after the fact. Now, set aside for a moment the fact that the Republicans in Congress, certainly in the Senate, didn't just sort of turn the other way while Donald Trump was criming. They didn't just kind of give him a pass, let it go, ignore it. They enabled him, they assisted him, they supported him, they aided and abetted him, and at an absolute minimum, they helped him get away with his crimes. They served as accessories after the fact. I have often, in my MSNBC appearances, brought the Federal Criminal Code with me. And okay, for you legal purists, yes, this is the 2017 edition. I'm a few years behind the times here. I don't know that I'm going to pop for the 2020 edition. But the good news is I double checked, and the crime of accessory after the fact has not changed since 2017. So let's read it. It's very short. And then let's talk about how it might apply to the many people who have helped Trump get away with his crimes. So accessory after the fact is 18 United States Code Section 3, right at the beginning of the 18 series. And it reads as follows, quote, accessory after the fact, whoever, knowing that an offense against the United States has been committed, receives, relieves, comforts, or assists the offender in order to hinder or prevent his apprehension, trial, or punishment, is an accessory after the fact. Close quote. Whoever assists Donald Trump in getting away with crime is guilty of the federal offense of accessory after the fact. Let's use a quick hypothetical to drive home one of the big issues we're going to have to wrestle with come January. Let's assume Donald Trump robs a bank. This is a hypothetical. And he's running down the street with the, two big cartoon bags full of money with the dollar signs on them. And he knocks on Lindsey Graham's door. And he says, Lindsey, I just robbed the bank. The police are are hot on my tail. Can you hide me out? Lindsey Graham says, sure, come on in, Mr. President. And he hides him in the basement. The police come knocking on Lindsey Graham's door. And they say, hey, Senator Graham, we suspect Donald Trump just robbed the bank. We saw him running this way. Have you seen him? And Lindsey Graham, hypothetically, says, nope, haven't seen him. Why don't you try the golf course? That would be the crime of accessory after the fact, because you can't help a criminal get away with a crime. Let's talk about the senators, the Republican senators. What have they done? They know Donald Trump has committed buku crimes. Have they assisted him? That's the language of the statute. To prevent him from being held accountable for those crimes? Yes. Think about this. There were crimes wrapped up in the articles of impeachment that were tried in the Senate trial. And the senators rigged the trial, right? No witnesses, no evidence, no documents, no photographs, no recordings. They didn't just hold a full, fair trial and let their conscience be their guide with respect to voting guilty or not guilty. They rigged the trial to assist Donald Trump, to help him get away with everything. That's one example, and I know that's a political hearing and proceeding, not strictly speaking a court of law. But the point is, they know Donald Trump committed crimes, and they assisted him to avoid him being held accountable. That, ladies and gentlemen, plain and simple, is the crime of accessory after the fact. What do we do about it? Well, come January, I suggest we have to have full, fair, apolitical, nonpartisan, honest, ethical investigations of all of it and of all of them. We have to. Because if we don't, then aren't we the ones who know people have committed crimes? And if we say we're going to turn the other cheek and let bygones be bygones and assist them so that they're not held accountable for their crimes, then are we any better than the folks who are assisting Donald Trump today get away with his many crimes? You know, whether we end up calling it the Trump Crimes Commission come January, or the Trump trials, or some combination of the Nuremberg trials and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission approach to restorative justice, I think we're suffering from a uniquely American atrocity perpetrated by Donald Trump and those who would assist and enable and be accessories after the fact to Donald Trump. And for this uniquely American atrocity, not to be compared to Nazi Germany or what the folks in South Africa had to suffer during apartheid, ours really is a uniquely American atrocity, and it's going to require a uniquely American approach to restoring faith in our government and to rebuilding the health and the vitality of our democracy, our republic. And it starts with full, fair, nonpartisan, apolitical investigations where we provide all of this evidence to grand juries who are the conscience of the community, and we do it honestly and fairly, no ham sandwiches anywhere near the grand jury, and we let the conscience of the community, the grand jury, decide whether to indict, who to indict, for what crimes to indict today's criminal politicians. And we live by the grand jury's decision with respect to what charges should be brought and against whom. But folks, if we don't have the determination and the political will to do this, then we're no better than the people who are enabling and excusing and being accessories to Donald Trump today. But we're better than that. We're better than that. And we're going to do this right come January. As always, folks, please stay safe. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.